friends! I'm Jamie from Poughkeepsie Farm Project, and today we're going to learn about saving seeds. If you're new here, just want to welcome you to our channel, and if you've been here before, welcome back. You like gardening videos? If so, please hit the like button. It really helps our channel. So now that it's late summer, we are harvesting lots of food, and it is the time to start thinking about next year. So we're thinking about saving seeds. And today we're going to learn about saving tomato seeds. Now here in my home garden, I'm growing a bunch of different types of tomatoes. I'm growing 2 different hybrids, so some Sun Golds and some Juliets. And I'm also growing some open pollinated varieties. So these are some San Marzano, and these are a combination of Paul Robeson and Cherokee Purple. Now, open pollinated seeds are better to save seeds from, but you can still save seeds from hybrids. You just don't know what you're going to get. With the open pollinated seeds, what you start out with is pretty much what you're going to get. You save the seed and you get a plant that's very similar. For the hybrids, you save the seeds and you will probably get some combination of the characteristics of the 2 different parent plants that were crossed in order to create that hybrid. So it's a little bit more of an experiment, but feel free to go ahead and give it a try. So what you're going to see in today's video is we're going to have a little information about the history of seed saving from Ben, and then Kathryn and I are going to take you through some of the steps in the process of saving seeds. Really hope you enjoy. I'm going to turn it over to Ben right now.
Hi there, and welcome to my home garden. My name is Ben, and today I'll be showing you how to save tomato seeds with some help from my friends at PFP. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the history and significance of seed saving. For many people, seed saving is a central component of traditional agriculture. Even with the advent of modern farming, seed saving remains a widespread practice vital to stewarding land and maintaining food systems. It is important to recognize and learn from those who carry their knowledge and heritage of seed saving to this day. If you're saving seeds at home, there are a few things you should keep in mind. Seeds from certain plants are easier to save than others, and tomatoes are some of the easiest. Some tomato plants are open pollinated, while others are hybrids. Let's take a minute to learn what this means. Open pollinated tomato varieties will breed true, meaning the seeds will produce tomato plants just like the parent plant. You might be familiar with heirloom tomatoes. These open pollinated tomatoes are popular to grow because you can save seeds to replant and know that you will get the same type of tomato that people have been growing for generations. Even though open pollinated varieties are good for seed saving, they are susceptible to cross-pollination, which describes when pollen from 2 different varieties, say a cherry tomato and a beefsteak tomato, crosses between plants. Fortunately, tomato flowers pollinate themselves mostly, so you don't have to worry too much about cross-pollination if you have multiple tomato varieties in your garden. Still, the experts recommend planting different tomato varieties 10 to 50 feet apart if you intend to save seeds. To save your own tomato seeds, all you need are a few supplies. Most of them are easy to find around the house. First, you'll need at least 1 tomato from a variety with viable seeds. You'll also need a knife and cutting board to cut the tomato open, and a spoon to extract the seeds. To separate and clean off the seeds, you'll need a tall container, glass or plastic work fine, and a strainer. Next, you'll need a surface to dry your seeds on. At PFP, we use plastic trays. Lots of professional seed savers use screens, but coffee filters and paper plates work fine too. Lastly, you'll need a paper bag to store your seeds and a pen or marker to label them.
Thanks, Ben, for that introduction. This is Kathryn from PFP, and I'm going to introduce you to our seed-saving garden. Jamie and I are going to give you the first few steps to get started saving your own tomato seeds. In this garden, other than the tomatoes, you'll see popcorn, beans, tomatillos, kale, peas, and peppers. To prevent the cross-pollination that Ben mentioned, you'll see we only have 1 variety of each type of plant in our seed-saving garden, spaced far away from our other gardens.
We also plant a large number of each type of plant so that we can choose the very best seeds. The tomatoes we're growing this year are called a super luscious tomato, also often called super Lakota tomato, and we last grew these in 2007. We've been saving the seeds in our seed bank since then, almost 13 years. Now let's move on to our first step, harvesting a ripe tomato. Tomato seeds are ready for saving when the fruit is ripe. A little bit overripe is fine too. When they're fully ripe, they will turn from green to some other color. It might be red, yellow, pink, or multicolored. Think about which plants grew best in your garden and produced the tastiest tomatoes when you're harvesting them. Seeds from these plants are more likely to thrive in your space and provide tasty fruit. Now Jamie's going to show us step 2, cutting open your tomato and scooping out the seeds.
So we are going to figure out how to get the seeds out of this tomato in order to save them. So we want to make sure we cut our tomato in half like this. So I'm going to turn it on its side and cut in half. And that is going to reveal all of the cavities. So the next step is to take the seeds out of these cavities, and I have this nice bowl here in order to do that. And so I'm going to just take my finger and just kind of poke into these little spots to get all of the seeds and all of the goo to fall into the bowl. And some of them you do have to dig pretty deeply. And I am using gloves, but you don't have to. You can use your bare hands if you like to. You'll get a little messy, but that's okay. One of the things that's important to keep in mind with saving seeds from tomatoes is that inside of a tomato, it's really quite a good environment for seeds to grow. So there are nutrients, there's plenty of moisture, and you've got all these seeds. And so that little goo around each of your tomato seeds is what's preventing the seeds from growing into plants inside of the tomato itself. And so since we want the tomato seeds to grow into tomatoes, we need to get rid of that goo. And so first we have to get them out of the tomatoes, and then we are going to do a process that's going to dissolve that goo. So we have our bowl with our seeds in it, and now we're ready for the next step. We're going to take these seeds and the goo and liquid that came out of the tomatoes, and we're going to pour that into this jar right here. And then, if you see, we have about this much tomato seeds and goo and tomato juice in there. And we are going to add about the same amount of water. The next step is you're going to take a paper towel and you're going to put that over the top of your jar and put a rubber band around it. And we are going to let this sit for about 3 to 5 days. And during that time, it's going to get a little bubbly, it's going to get kind of gross, it's going to ferment, it's going to rot, and the gelatinous goo that's around those tomato seeds is going to dissolve. And then we're going to be ready for our next step.
Hi friends, it's Kathryn, and I've got the tomato seeds that have been fermenting for a few days, and now we're going to separate out the good seeds that should be at the bottom of your jar from everything that's floating at the top. So you should see at the least some film that's formed at the top. That's a sign that it's fermented. You may have some mold, maybe not as much as I have. And then at the very bottom, you'll see seeds that have collected down there. And those are the good seeds that you want to save. So what we're going to do, leaving it in our jar, we're going to add water as high as you can, and still be able to kind of stir it up a little bit. And then you're going to pour all of that junk at the top off. we're going to do that a couple times. And we want to make sure everything that's floating gets decanted off, poured off. All the pulp, all the mold, any seeds that are floating, because they're not going to be viable. You just want to keep everything that's staying at the bottom. So once you've done that a couple times, your next step, you're going to take the strainer you've got and pour everything out into that. You might have a few that get stuck in there. You're going to rinse them, and you really want to make sure you're getting all of the gelatinous stuff, any pulp, anything that's left attached to the seed off. So you should just see your seeds. There shouldn't be anything gooey left on there. So the next step after you've strained your seeds and rinsed them, you want to spread them in one layer, ideally not touching at all. I'm using a plate, but you can use either a paper plate, or if you're doing a lot of seeds at once, you might want to use either a metal or a plastic tray. Either way, spread them out, try to separate them, pat them dry if you need to get a little excess water off. And then this is going to need to stay somewhere for at least 5 or 6 days to dry out, and you want it to be somewhere that's out of the direct sunlight. Still has some airflow and isn't too damp or actually getting wet at all. So go ahead and put your plate wherever you plan on drying out your seeds, and then we'll get to the next step. So after a week or so has passed, you'll be able to check them, and you can press them with your fingernail and see if they bend at all. They should be very firm when they're totally dried out, almost so that if you put enough pressure that they would break. And when they are totally ready, you'll want to put them into a little paper bag that's marked with the variety and the year that they were grown, so you can keep track of how old they are. You can put them into a little packet like this. If you're saving them longer term, you'd want to put some silica packets to keep them extra dry and possibly seal them in something more airtight that can go in a refrigerator. If you're just doing it casually at home, then a seed packet in a dark, dry place where you don't have to worry about any pests getting to them is okay.
Now you can use your tomato seeds to start your garden next year or in years to come. I'm glad you guys got to learn with us today. We'll be sure to let you know when our next seed saving video comes out. In the meantime, you can find more learning materials, recipes, and resources on our website and YouTube channel. Thank you so much again. Bye now.